we get to stop at $9,000.
I'm a little concerned about that structure on the lease as well, as far as financing goes. It seems like it's sort of light on the front end and heavy on the back end. You know, last 25 years, we'd be getting $1.5 million from this. In 25 years, you might not even be using it. So I can see where it'd be easy for you to enter into a contract like this. I'd like you to negotiate my next home purchase so that I don't pay on the loan until.
Can I address that real quickly? Again, we do a lot of these. The economics work. We've made numerous offers, and initially it was very much a front-end loaded deal. It was, my understanding from one of my associates was that y'all were looking for more upfront money. We can do that. We're absolutely happy to do that. I would prefer that. Paying out over time is something we do all the time.
I'm not saying I'm looking for a one-time payment. You misunderstand me.
Okay, no,
I'm not asking for a one-time payment.
Right. Well, no. So what I'm going to tell you is, from the structure that I was requested to come up with, this is an above market opportunity. This is better than what I've discussed with some much larger municipalities and have done with. Typically we're paying below $1,000 a month. So we're 30% above that. And then we give you revenue sharing on top of that, And as the tower leases up, I can't control that. If you're saying it's back and loaded, it's really not. It's just whenever the tenants come on, that's when you start getting additional revenue.
Well, no, I still think you're misunderstanding, because the way it lays out at 25 years, we get $580,444.80 is a basic payment of what the initial proposal is. If you get more people on board with more antennas, we make a few $100s more per year on top of that, but still,
per tenant.
That's per month per tenant, which amounts to maybe $1,000, couple thousand a year. So it doesn't change that number significantly in my opinion. I'd like to see a better offer on this financially.
Okay, and that's something I think Mr. Barker can attest to. Our initial proposal was, I'll pay you all up front. I'll pay you, 75% up front, 25% up front, 1% up front, 0 up front. I'll do it any way you want to do it. We're not tied to a certain structure. One of the things that makes us different than these giant tower companies is that, I kind of get to call the shots.
Let me ask you this. So what you're trying to tell me is that you offered to pay this thing up front, this 50-year lease of $1 million. No, I'm sorry, $2.2 million up front. Is that?
No, that's not what.
Oh.
No. What I said is that I could make a front-end offer, front-end loaded offer or not, and through negotiations with the consultant that y'all brought in, he said this is what we're looking for, and we agreed to something. It was an offer made to me. It's not an offer I came up with.
Front-end loaded.
No. The structure you're looking at is something that the consultant discussed with me. And it's a big, believe me, he did his job. It's a very rich deal. And if you want more money up front, we can get around all that. I mean, I can't pay you $2 million up front.
Right. No, and I wouldn't expect that either. But in the first 5 years, 10 years, considering Moore's law says that the technology becomes obsolete after 18 months. As things change, as you say, 10 years ago, you'd go out 3 miles. Now you can only go a third of a mile.
Well, Moore's law doesn't say it goes obsolete.
It changes.
It changes. I've done a lot of soul searching over the years. Am I spending all my time and money in a business that's going to become obsolete? It's not. Bill Gates and people have tried to skin this cat a lot of different ways. And this is such a vast country with so many, you know, hills, valleys, trees, whatever, that you have to have. It's just a fact of life. So, but I'm happy to address the economics. I think Mr. Barker will attest to the fact that I'm nothing if not flexible.
All right, go ahead, Doug.
I'm not sure that we're defining a consultant the same way that maybe you are, because back when this was originally brought to us and we all agreed, yeah, we'll take a look at it because we're not going to turn anything down until we have information. And representing our citizens, we need the information. So I believe he brought GMA in to just see where we were even in the ballpark to make sure we weren't getting a bad deal. That's what we directed as a body.
Right.
So I just wanted to make that clear to you and to the citizens.
Any other council?
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah, go ahead, Juan.
And I can't, this is all good discussion, I just can't, I'm having trouble brushing off the safety issues, and you did kind of brush them off.
Well, and again, I'm not a doctor or
Right,
or a
I'm
scientist.
and
I encourage you to read the American Cancer Society literature.
I saw the out of context quote there, and we could do that, but that's also one source, and there's a lot of contention of that to the extent that it is dangerous, and so you know, and then you know, there's the thing in your presentation that says, is it safe to live near a safe junction? Of course, you're going to say yes. I'm not saying that you would intentionally hurt
I
anybody
live
at
near
all,
cell towers.
but I'm sorry.
I live near cell towers.
Yeah, so I'm not saying you would intentionally hurt anybody, and you might believe that it's safe, and whoever wrote this believes it's perfectly safe, but I need to see.
Can I ask you what information you have that proves that they're not safe?
Well, no, I think that the burden of proof, as far as the radiation goes, needs to be on you.
No, it really doesn't.
So-
It really doesn't, because, you know, this is not a new technology. This is not something that is you know, something that people are just finding out about. There are decades and decades of studies, and, you know, people, you know, all sorts of data has been assimilated to figure out whether these are dangerous. And if the American Cancer Society information is not good enough for you, then me standing up here and defending the industry we're in is going to do no good.
That sounds good, but it isn't good enough for me. I mean, I would, you know, and this isn't going to end tonight. I would just really like to see a lot more objective information.
And if the American Cancer Society is not objective enough for you, then we're never going to see out of this. I would hope we would.
I will read beyond the quote, but I will also.
Well, we gave you a full article on the American Cancer Society, and it's
and you know, I will look at other information.
I hope you do. And again, this is something that I hope this is something we go through a lot. And if I'm abrupt at all, I apologize. But it's an emotional thing. And people think a tower, they think electricity, they think radio waves. It's you know, I understand. I understand it. It's not something you deal with every day. And I'm not a school teacher. I'm not a college professor that can get on a whiteboard and explain to you how it works. So I rely on sources like the American Cancer Society. And I've got to believe that's the best source there is.
And there are what other sources? Can you just tell me?
Well, I'll leave that stuff up to people like Adrian. He can give you
World Health Organization has an article on it too.
I mean, it's something that people will say, well, you wouldn't want one in your backyard. I've got cell towers all around the place.
I wouldn't want to.
But the revenue's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Personally, I think there's more damage on these electrical, big old giant towers that are 2 doors down here than there are from the phones. We use those cell phones more than the cell towers.
Well, the CDC, actually, I saw an article today, CDC came out, and I'm always looking for things to say, you know, dangers with cell phone usage or whatever. And I said, oh my gosh, there's an article from the CDC. Well, it was about the bacteria, the viruses that your phone
Exactly.
So,
Remote.
yeah, so it's,
More terms, yeah.
yeah, so I mean, and I do understand what you're saying, and if it were up to me, you know, I would still be living in the eighteen
All
sixties.
green, right.
You know, I mean, I love, you know, landscape and unspoiled territory. But unfortunately, you know, if you live in society in a municipal area where there are lots of people, you know, living, working, you know, communications are imperative.
So this is just such a controversial issue. I want, just as an elected official, to feel safe to the nth degree, to feel
Absolutely.
sure to the nth degree that I'm not putting any citizen or anybody in danger.
Without tricking you. Do you own a cell phone?
Yeah,
Well, that's.
and it works
That's what the
really
consult-
great.
that's
It
what
works
the-
really great all over Columbus.
Well, that's what the consultants always tell us to do, ask them if they have a cell phone.
And I always put it on speakerphone and hold it. I never-
Don't use
I
an
don't-
earbud, by the way.
Hmm?
Don't use an earbud.
I don't.
All right, any more comments from the council? Okay, seeing none, I'm opening the floor for the public hearing.
Thanks to the manager and council. It's good to see you guys again, and thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to,
Name and address.
my name is Adria Stembridge at 3801 East
It's
Avenue.
got to be correct. Thank you.
So, yes, thank you. So, earlier in your presentation, you made a couple of claims, just small things that I just wanted to correct. The first claim you made was that there is no cell coverage in the area of Clarkston. In fact, on your PowerPoint you brought up and you showed a map with the area around Clarkston.
That's a Metro PCS
Yeah,
propagation.
absolutely. Yeah, so it's Metro PCS who's standing behind us. That's their map. I can tell you without a doubt that my cell phone works perfectly fine in that area. I live less than 150 feet away or where your proposed tower is going to be. I also have a movie studio with very thick walls and radiant barrier insulation where ordinarily you'd think you'd have trouble with cell phone getting through. Having no trouble getting a signal. So I just would like to correct your statement that there is no cell coverage, because in fact there is. The other point I wanted to make was that you did mention that the cell tower, proposed cell tower, is nowhere near a field, when in fact it is. It is just less than 100 feet away from a soccer field that children play on every day. There are also families that live in the neighborhood. There are children that live in my house. There are children that play next door. So there are a lot of people around that would be potentially affected. And I am not a PhD. I am an application developer. I'm a geek. So I love technology. I embrace it. However, I hold reservations that these towers are perfectly safe and benign. I think there's, as Warren alluded to, there's enough contingency. There's studies out there that go either direction on this. And the World Health Organization's page that Dean referenced a bit ago, for instance. Thank you for the presentation. I would urge council not to let this go through. I think this is just a bad idea and it's in a bad location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris Busing from Mock Street. I don't really understand boasting cell phone towers on sacred American battlefields as being a selling point for your presentation, but my next point, Dean caught some serious numbers and is showing perhaps misrepresentations of the revenue values to the city, and I appreciate that because Dean's short discussion sounds more authentic to me. But if there were a lot of revenue values of this project in the city, I would like to see it, and if in fact what he's saying is correct, I would like to see it directly attributed to the reduction of property taxes penny for penny amidst all the other things we've been spending money on around here. And then as far as, attesting to the vaunted status of the American Cancer Society. My dad died of cancer yesterday, and in the process of following along with trying to investigate all kinds of alternatives, I learned a lot about the American Cancer Society, heretofore discredited, I do believe, and becoming more discredited in every day. And then, as far as the coverage is concerned, I dropped Metro PCS a little while ago. Had coverage with Metro PCS for 3 years. Never noticed any wavering in the coverage. In fact, it was probably better coverage than any other. I just dropped it because they censored the Alex Jones show. So other than that, I confirm your point, Warren, that the coverage of Metro PCS is good. I don't see that as a reason to install another tower.